Hello friends, again welcome to the next video and the concluding video of the monophasic liquid dosage form chapter. I am Mrs. Sandhya Lanke from Shri Jain Vidya Prasarak Mandal, Sasikilalayam Dhariwal, College of Pharmacy, Pune. This will be the concluding part of monophasic liquid dosage form. In this video, you will be able to define mouthwash and gargle. You will be able to compare Lilimids and lotion, and you will be able to discuss ear drops and nasal drops. In short, you will be able to discuss the two classes of monophasic liquid dosage form which are used for external use. The first one are the topical use liquid dosage form, and the second one liquids to be used in body cavities. So let us start with liquids to be used in oral cavities. First, the gargles, then mouthwash and the throat paints. In board exams, instead of directly asking the questions on gargle, mouthwash or throat paint, question can be asked, enlist the liquids used in oral cavity and write in detail about them. So, you have to apply your logic and write about mouthwash, gargle and throat paints. Let us start with gargles first. Gargles are clear aqueous solution used to prevent or treat throat infections. Gargles, they are brought into intimate contact with the mucous membrane of the throat and are allowed to remain in contact with it for few seconds before they are thrown out of the mouth. So, we can say that gargles are mainly used in the posterior or backside part of our tongue, vulva. Gargles are mainly used to treat or prevent the throat infection. Normally we are doing gargling when we are suffering from sore throat by using just our edible salt. We are adding it to the warm water and we are doing the gargling. So this gargling, this gives relief the pain that we feel when we are swallowing. So the area from any bacteria is getting clean with the gargling. It draws the moisture out of the swollen tissues and it relieves the pain that we feel during swallowing. So the edible salt prevents these harmful bacteria from further growing. So this is our day-to-day home remedy when we are suffering from the sore throat. So the gargles, they may contain some antiseptic, some analgesics or weak astringents. The liquid is not usually intended for swallowing. Always keep in mind, gargles should not be swallowed in large amount. By mistake, there are chances that we may swallow some, but it should not be swallowed in large amount. The examples of gargles are betadine gargle, povidone iodine gargle, vocadine gargle, the germicidal gargle. Gargles are mainly the aqueous clear solutions which to be used in the mouth as well as throat. They are pleasantly flavored and they should be maintained in the pH of 5 to 9.5 so as to appear the safe. Some therapeutic agents which are used mainly antibiotics, antiseptics, analgesics, local anesthetics and even deodorants and astringents also. In board exam, question may be asked on the reason why gargles are dispensed in concentrated form. See, always gargles are in concentrated form and we have to dilute them before their use. Why this is so? Because the quantity of solution required for doing one-time gargle is around 20 ml. Therefore, if it is dispensed in dilute form, it requires the large quantity which is practically impossible to dispense. Therefore, they are dispensed in the concentrated form. For example, potassium chlorate gargle and phenol gargle, in which potassium chlorate, patent blue 5, liquefied phenol and water are the ingredients. Potassium chlorate is here act as your medicament, patent blue 5 is a coloring agent, liquefied phenol will be here used as preservative and water will be used as vehicle. So this is a typical example of gargle. The containers which are mostly preferred for gargles are white fluted glass bottles with plastic cap and the color bottle used for preparation which need protection from sunlight. Gargles are stored at room temperature. They should be kept out of the reach of children and they should be stored away from direct sunlight, heat and moisture. The labeling directions that should be present on the label of gargles include use only as directed because they contain the medicament, so that's why they should be used only when the physician suggested. For external use only, this direction should be also present on the label. Then diluted with warm water before use and not to be swallowed. So these main directions should be present on the label of gargles. Next one are the mouthwash. Mouthwash, these are aqueous solutions with a pleasant taste and odor which are used to clean and deodorize the buccal cavity. So, in comparison with gargles, gargles are used in posterior region of tongue, posterior region of the throat, while mouthwash they are used in anterior region of the throat. That means in the front side of the throat, mainly in the buccal cavity. They mainly contains the deodorant type of substances which will give the deodorant effect, refreshing or antiseptic effect. Mouthwashes generally contains antibiotic agents, astringent agents, alcohol, glycerine, sweetening agent, flavoring agent and coloring agent. For example, compound sodium chloride mouthwash, then alkaline phenol mouthwash, hydrogen peroxide mouthwash. So these are few examples of mouthwash. Here the procedure is very simple. In case of this sodium chloride mouthwash, first we have to dissolve sodium bicarbonate with sodium chloride in water and then we have to add chloroform and peppermint oil. So here sodium bicarbonate and sodium chloride, they are used as antibacterials which are used for cleansing or deodorant purpose. Then chloroform will be preservative and peppermint oil will be the flavoring agents. Mouthwashes, they are always dispensed in the white fluted bottles with the labeling direction for external use only. Do not swallow in large amounts and they can be used for medicated purpose also. Cosmetic purpose also. So this is about mouthwash. Now the next one important point which is again exam point of view important difference between mouthwash and gargles. So let's see the differentiation. Mouthwashes are aqueous solutions with a pleasant taste and smell for refreshing effect. That means they are used for deodorant effect. While gargles are aqueous solution used to prevent or treat throat infections. Then mouthwash used to make clean and deodorize the buccal cavity, while gargles are used to relieve soreness in mild throat infections. Mouthwash, these are used to rinse buccal cavity, while gargles, these are gargled to bring in intimate contact with mucous membrane of the throat. Mouthwash mainly used for cosmetic purpose because they use deodorizing effect. In case of gargle, they are used for medicated purpose as we are treating some disease like infection, throat infection, sore throat. Mouthwash, these are used in anterior portion of vulva, nothing but the front side of the oral cavity. Gargles, these are used in the posterior side of vulva, nothing but the backside region of the tongue. Examples: mouthwash, compound sodium chloride mouthwash, and gargles, potassium chloride gargles. So these are some points of differentiation of mouthwash and gargles. Moving ahead with the throat paints. Throat paints are viscous liquid preparations which are used for mouth and throat infections. Commonly used throat paints are boroglycerine, phenol glycerine, tannic acid glycerine and compound iodine paint. So mainly throat paints are viscous in nature and they are used for both mouth as well as throat infection. Glycerin is one of the major ingredient or major vehicle in formulation of throat paint. So question is asked as a reason why glycerin is used as base in throat pain. So mainly why it is so? Because glycerin is viscous in nature and it adheres to the throat for sufficient long period of time. Because of its viscosity, it increases the contact time of the affected area on the medicament for prolonging the action, and it also acts as soothing agent. It will provide some soothing effect to the mucous membrane which is getting infected. So these are the major reasons why glycerin is used as base in throat pains. Here is an example of Mandel's paint, nothing but compound iodine paint BPC, which contains potassium iodide, iodine, which are your medicaments, alcohol, preservative, water, vehicle, and peppermint oil, flavoring agent. Glycerin will be used here as an vehicles. This Mandel's paint you might be prepared it in practicals in first year also. In short, this is the method of preparation of Mandel's paint, where potassium iodide is dissolved in water, iodine is added in concentrated solution of potassium iodide. Potassium iodide here it is used as solubilizing agent as iodine is insoluble in water. Peppermint oil is dissolved in alcohol and the alcoholic solution is added to the solution of iodine. Then volume is make up with glycerin, transfer the contents to the well closed container, label and then dispense. So this is about the method of preparation of Mandel's paint, which is mainly used to provide the antiseptic and germicidal effect. The containers which are used for throat paints are, the throat paint should be dispensed in airtight color fluted bottles. The glass toppers are generally used in such bottles and the applicator is provided along with the throat paints as we have to apply it with the brush. The label direction that must be present on the container includes for external use only, then shake the bottle before use wherever it is applicable and not to be swallowed in large amount. So this is about throat paints. Now next is the storage. It should be stored in airtight containers in cool place. Some direction related to its application are: apply it with the help of soft brush or even a cotton swab, and food and water before and after application of throat paint should be avoided at least for 1 hour so as to provide an healing effect after the application, or there are chances that food may remain adhere in the surface that may cause difficulty during its application. That's why food and water should be avoided after 1 hour of use of throat paints. So this is regarding throat paints. The next one are the liquids to be instilled into the body cavities like ear drop, nasal drop and the douches. Let us discuss one by one regarding these all the dosage forms. The first one are the ear drops. Ear drops are a solution of one or more active ingredients which exert a local effect in the ear that are instilled into the ear with the help of dropper. So in short, we can define ear drops as the solution or suspension of drug that are instilled into the ear with the help of dropper. Ear drops, they also be called as otic solutions or oral preparation, because ora is the Latin word used for ear. They are mainly used for treating different infections. They can be used to produce local anesthesia. They can be used to kill insect lodged in the auditory canal. Then they can be used for softening of the ear wax and the pain which is produced because of that. So as to reduce the ear pain also, we can use different type of ear drops. The formulation of ear drop includes the main solvents, two main components. First one is the glycerin and the second one is the water. The main solvent used in ear drop include glycerin, propylene glycol and water. Along with this, polyethylene glycol, dilute alcohol can also be used. The viscous glycerin solution permit the drug to remain in ear for longer time. Then the viscous liquid such as glycerin or propylene glycol are used either alone or in combination with surfactant so as to remove the ear wax. So because of viscosity of glycerin, the contact time of the ear canal and the drug will get increased, and because of it there will be easy removal of the ear wax. Sorry. Here is an example, soda glycerin ear drop. Sodium carbonate, glycerin and purified water. So this soda glycerin ear drop is mainly used as ear softener or wax softener. The containers which are mainly preferred for dispensing ear drops should be packed in color fluted glass bottles and they should be supplied with the dropper. The labeling direction should include not to be taken orally, then for external use only, not for injection, and discontinue the use if irritation persists. Ear drops should be stored in cool and dry place. Next is nasal drop. Nasal drops are liquid preparations, may be aqueous or oily in nature, which are used for instillation into the nostrils. They are instilled into the nose with the help of dropper so as to relieve nasal congestion, inflammation and to combat the infection. Mainly isotonic saline nasal sprays are used in infants and children so as to wash the thick mucus from the nose, and in case of allergic rhinitis also it is very useful preparation. The various category of preparations can be used in nasal drops like sympathomimetic drugs, vasoconstrictor, anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, antihistaminic or local anesthetic. The formulation of nasal drop includes the isotonicity contributor. So as to adjust the isotonicity of the preparation, 0.9% sodium chloride is used. Now nasal drop should be isotonic with the secretions in the nasal cavity just to avoid irritation. Then second, buffer, it should have neutral pH, and that's why different type of buffers like phosphate buffer is mainly used in formulation of nasal drop. Viscosity builder or also called as thickening agents, they should be present in the concentration of 0.5%. For example, methyl cellulose. Then vehicle, mainly phosphate buffer of pH 6.5 is preferred as a vehicle in nasal drop. Just to again avoid irritation with the nasal secretion, there is need to adjust the pH. So the pH range of 5.5 to 7.5 we have to maintain it. Again, two major mostly asked question in reasons nasal drops should be made isotonic. So as I have told you previously, if nasal drops are isotonic, it will prevent irritation to the epithelial cilia of nasal mucosa. That's why we have to use the isotonicity contributors like sodium chloride saline solution. Then the second reason, oily vehicles are not used in preparation of nasal drops. Why this is so? Because oil drops inhibit the movement of cilia in the nasal mucosa, and if used for longer period that may reach to the lungs and that may leads to lipoidal pneumonia. So These oil droplets, what they do? They inhibit the movement of cilia. There are small growths in our nasal mucous membrane. So because of that ciliary movement, there are accumulation of the dust particle in the nasal cavity. So if we will use the oily vehicle, that ciliary movement will get inhibited, and because of this there are chances that the prolonged use of such type of preparation, the nasal drops or oil drops may reach to the lungs, and that may leads to causing lipoidal pneumonia. So it may be harmful. Here is an example of nasal drop, ephedrine hydrochloride nasal drop, which mainly contains ephedrine, then the chlorbutal, which is used as preservative, sodium chloride, which is used as isotonicity contributor, and water is used as vehicle. So this is an example. The container for nasal drop should be packed in color fluted glass bottle. They should be supplied with the dropper. The labeling direction is they are used for external use only, and the storage, these are supplied in well closed glass container. They should be stored in cool and dry place. So this is about nasal drop. The next one are douche. Now what is this douche? These are medicated solutions for rinsing body cavities such as bladder, vagina, rectum, nasal cavity. Mainly these douches are used for rinsing the various body cavities. For example, potassium permanganate douche solution, isotonic sodium chloride solution. Now these douches are available as eye douche, pharyngeal douche, nasal douche, vaginal douche, bladder douche, rectum douche. So according to the body cavity, different formulations are available. Generally 3 cavities are widely used. For vaginal purpose, term as douche; for bladder purpose, term as irrigation; and for rectum purpose, term as enema. So these are the frequently used preparations in the form of douche. Here you can see the different examples of douche along with an applicator. They are available: eye douche, nasal douche, and the vaginal douche. Now there are different uses of douche depending upon the type of medicament. Their use will be vary. Some cleansing agents are used, for example isotonic sodium chloride solution, which is used for cleansing purpose, the irrigation purpose. Secondly, antiseptics like lactic acid, potassium permanganate, chlorhexidine, these are used to provide the antiseptic effect, and some douches are available in the astringent form, for example 1% alum. So these are some uses of douches. In case of douche, these are restricted to vaginal solution which are having cleansing or antiseptic action. Vaginal douche must be sterile if it is used after childbirth or surgery, because they should, as they are directly used into the body cavity, they should be sterile one. The bladder irrigation must always be sterile, as bladder is a sterile organ. Then vaginal douches are introduced by means of suitable rubber syringe. These douches are dispensed as concentrated forms, and directions for dilution with warm water are always mentioned on the label of douche. So potassium permanganate douche is a typical example of vaginal douche, which is mainly used for providing the antiseptic or antibacterial effect. Next we will discuss about liquids to be applied on skin. Nothing but topically applied liquid preparations. So liniments and lotions are the examples of liquids to be applied on skin. First we will discuss about liniments. These are alcoholic or oleaginous solution or emulsion of various medicinal substances which are intended for external application to the skin with friction and rubbing. So, we can define lineaments as fluid or semi-fluid, liquid or semi-liquid preparations intended for external application to the skin with friction and rubbing. They may be alcoholic or oily solution or emulsion. Lineaments have different types. They are categorized into three types. Alcoholic lineaments, which are mainly used for its rubefacient property. Oily lineaments, for example chloroform liniment. Oily lineaments, they are mainly used when massage is required, for example camphor liniment, methyl salicylate liniment. And the third one, emulsion liniment, they are mainly example is camphor and soap liniment BP. So this is about types of liniment. Next, the frequently used liniments are soap liniment, camphor liniment. Mainly the various kind of substances are used in formulation of liniments like analgesic, rubefacients, counter irritants, soothing and stimulating ingredients or the medicaments. The liniments should not be applied on the broken skin because they may cause irritation, as they have to be applied with friction, so they may cause side effects on the broken skin. Liniments contain volatile ingredients, so the cold storage is necessary, and that's why they are kept away from the flame. Let us discuss the container, label and storage of liniments. The containers which are used for dispensing liniments are mainly the color fluted bottles. The labeling direction includes for external use only, apply with friction and rubbing, and the most important, do not apply on broken skin. The storage of liniment is they should be stored in cool place and they should be placed away from the inflammable area. The next one is about lotions. Lotions are liquid or semi-liquid preparations applied to the skin or mucous membrane for their cooling and moisturizing effect. These are intended for external application or for special use. Lotions are directly applied to the skin or applied with the help of suitable absorbent cotton materials like cotton wool. They are intended for external application without rubbing to the affected area. Usually they are applied with either the cotton wool or cotton gauze. Generally they provide cooling, soothing and protective action. It may be aqueous or alcoholic solution, or it may be a suspension. They are generally applied as antiseptic. For example, calamine lotion. Then astringents like zinc oxide and calamine. They may include anesthetic agents like benzocaine. Then the alcohol is also used sometimes, which will provide the cooling sensation and which may cause some relief. Then glycerin is also added in formulation of lotions. It will act as an humectant. Humectant means what? They will prevent the preparation to get dry. They will keep moisture in the preparation. So these are formulation additives. The typical example, the most popular one, calamine lotion. You might be prepared it in first year diploma pharmacy. One practical is there regarding this calamine lotion. It contains calamine, which will provide protective action, zinc oxide, which will give astringent effect, bentonite is used for suspending agent, sodium citrate, it is used as antioxidant, liquefied phenol, preservative, glycerin humectant, rose water flavoring agent, and water will be used as a vehicle. Here is the short procedure for method preparation of calamine lotion. Sodium citrate solution is prepared by using water, then triturate calamine zinc oxide bentonite together in sodium citrate solution. There is formation of a smooth cream. Then dilute the cream with water to make it pourable. Transfer it in the measure. Add a liquid phenol and glycerin. Add rose water. Mix well and adjust the volume by using remaining quantity of water. So this is about calamine lotion. Now let us discuss the container, storage and labeling of lotions. Lotions are dispensed in well closed narrow mouth amber color fluted plastic bottle closed with colored plastic screw cap. The containers which are used for dispensing lotions must have adequate air space above the solution. Why this is so? Because some lotions, they may be biphasic in nature. They may be available in the form of suspension. So when we will shake the container, it should have sufficient space for adequate shaking. That's why adequate space should be present above the lotion. The labeling instruction present on the label should be for external use only, apply without friction or rubbing, and shake well before use. The storage is for lotions, it should be stored in cool and dry place. And the last point is difference between liniments and lotion. Again, the frequently asked question in the board exams. Liniments, they are used for counter irritant, rubefacient, soothing or stimulating purpose. In case of lotions, they are used for topical effects such as cooling, soothing, protective and emollient effect. Liniments are applied with friction while lotions are applied without friction. Liniments, the vehicle is mostly oily or alcoholic, and in case of lotion, vehicle is mostly aqueous. In case of liniments, these are used for application to the unbroken skin. Lotion can be applied on broken skin as they include alcohol which provide the cooling effect. They can be applied on broken skin also. Alcohol is added to improve penetration power. Here alcohol is added for cooling action. Then these are semi-liquid preparation, and lotions mostly they are liquid preparation. In very rare cases they are also present in semi-liquid consistency. Then liniments, the turpentine liniment, and in case of lotion, sulfur lotion is an example. So this question is always asked in exam for 3 marks. So it is an important one. So thanks for your attention. If you have any queries, you can post it in the comment box. Thank you.